Tonight's episode of Bored Chitless is sponsored by The Game Steward. The Game Steward is an online game store offering Kickstarter board games out of print and imported games at reasonable prices. It's time to play.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Bored Chitless. I'm Leki, and today I'm joined by
Tristan.
And this week we've been playing Seventh Continent. Before we get to that, though, it's just a reminder that Lifeform has gone live on Kickstarter.
Oh my goodness, it's now probably live by the time this goes out, but it's not actually at the moment, which is a strange position to be in.
We're very much on the cusp of you pressing the go live button, so it's the day after tomorrow from when we're recording this.
Less than 48 hours, yeah.
Yeah, but because of our podcasting schedule and time travel, it's going to be well and truly live by the time we get around to there.
This is a message from the past.
So what do people search for? They just search on Kickstarter for Lifeform?
Lifeform, all one word. Intergalactic terror, like you've never seen in a board game before.
And Tristan's going to be watching and refreshing every 20 seconds.
At this point, by the time this podcast goes out, I won't have slept for about 72 hours, I expect.
But if you don't know about Lifeform, the board game, it's absolutely brilliant. That's not just my opinion, but opinion shared by at least 6 other people.
Tristan puts the gun back on the table.
You should definitely go check out the Kickstarter page. There's going to be a ton of content on there. I think there's an overview video about the game itself. There's a playthrough video. And then hopefully links to lots of extra material as well, so you can really see what the game's about before you decide to back it. But if you're interested in that sort of game, interested in sci-fi, strongly recommend you check out Lifeform and Kickstarter. So back to our scheduled programming. So we've been playing Seventh Continent, which is an epic adventure exploration for, was it 1 to 4 players?
I think so, thereabouts, yeah. You could probably add more. I'm not sure how that would go, but yeah. Massive card game. This is the one that on the second, so the first Kickstarter went over $1 million, the second Kickstarter raised over $7 million for Seventh Continent. Some French guys called Serious Poulp threw it together, and it's like a loving homage to all the choose your own adventure books from the 80s, like the fighting fantasy adventure books by Steve Jackson, Ian Livingstone, and but it's all in card format. So you're going through like literally probably over 1,000 cards that make up the map that you're exploring, that tell the stories of the continent that you're traveling around. It's a very unusual game. What did you think?
It's ridiculous amount of cards. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's so heavy. The box is so heavy, and it's just cards.
It nearly threw my back out and I lift it. It is beautiful though. The box is amazing. The artwork is insane. It reminds me a lot of the artwork for Archipelago. That everything's from a very top-down objective viewpoint, but then the amount of detail that's actually gone in there, to the point they actually give you a little plastic lens magnifying glass to check it out in further detail, see if you can find any Easter eggs in there.
And there are game-like related Easter eggs, aren't there? Like there's secret numbers on the tiles, so you might be exploring a tile and it's got routes off in each direction, but on the actual tile itself there's a hidden number, and if you spot that using the magnifying glass or your eyes, if you've got good eyes, you can go straight to that tile number and swap it out.
That's it. And
all of a sudden you've found like a hidden passage or a secret cave or something.
And it's really cool when you find them. It feels like a massive achievement.
It's a lovely little, it's a really lovely mechanic.
Yeah.
But kind of a strange game in terms of like how it plays out and stuff, right?
Definitely.
You're essentially a character or a team of characters if you play multiplayer. And I've played this solo once before. I managed to get off the first little island. We'll try and avoid as many spoilers as possible here. But we played it through again tonight, and I sort of was a silent partner to Leki and sort of guided him through it, but also managed to forget everything that happened. So it was all kind of a new experience again for me anyway, because it's some time since I played it. But so you're struggling through this abandoned Seventh Continent. It's the year 1907. You're a bunch of explorers. You share the same health, which is your action deck.
Yeah.
Which is basically you draw from that to do actions, and on each card in your action deck is a number of successes that you use to complete actions, but also you can take those cards into your hand to use as skills, and you can use them to play items, and other kinds of weird stuff gets shuffled in there as well. But it's sort of a really strange...
It's streamlined, isn't it? In a sort of strange way, to the point of confusion almost.
Yeah, it's... I'd take full blame for not swatting up on the rules before we started playing tonight, because a lot of it threw me again. There's certain effects on cards where you can draw lucky sevens, and lucky sevens will give you extra successes if you've got other lucky sevens on certain cards.
Yeah,
it's all a bit sort of. I guess on the face of it, it's quite simple. But when you're trying to remember it and you're flipping through the rule book, it's like, what? It's not intuitive. Stuff. I don't think.
It's quite deceptive, isn't it? Like the interface of all the cards and how different logos interact with each other are straightforward. It's very obvious to see what's a hunting card versus what's an attack card, and the difference between those two sorts of uses is massive.
Yeah.
Like a hunting weapon might be able to be used as an attack weapon. But then a fishing rod might also be a hunting weapon, but not an attack. And it's just when you start getting into minutiae like that, and there's it must be at least about 30 or 40 different types of actions that you can take. You can't physically do all of them each turn because you usually need an item, or your objective that you're trying to succeed at needs that particular action to satisfy it. So you don't have to worry about which ones you're going to take at a time. That's usually quite obvious. But then, to say, when you start revealing cards to work out if if you get enough successes or not, sometimes you can mislead yourself and think that you've got successes when you haven't, and that you can use successes from your hand when you actually can't. And it took us a couple of turns to actually work out exactly what we were able to do.
Yeah.
And a bit of it was kind of like, fumbling through the rules, but part of it was just having to sit there and think, right, this is how these mechanics work and this how that mechanic works. And once you've got it in your head, once it's all laid out, then it's fine. You don't generally start straying from there. It's just
waiting for that to bed in, isn't it? Yeah. So basically, the mechanic is flip X cards from your deck and look for stars. And those stars are successes.
Yes.
And then everything beyond that is like extra abilities, like lucky sevens will give you more successes, and you can use skills in your hand to power them up, and all kinds of stuff. But on the face of it, it's not a complex game. We're making it out to be more complicated than it is mostly because I forgot a lot of the rules. But once you're actually playing it, it's fairly simplistic, and the depth of skills that you can choose each turn.
It's mind-boggling.
One of
them snowshoes.
Snowshoes. I don't think we never got to the snowshoes bit, but that was compelling and intriguing. But yeah, there's you can search, you can heal, you can build fires, you can build equipment. Each of the equipment items lets you do other actions or boosts certain actions, and you're sort of exploring and looking for clues. Your character is cursed. We played the basic curse, the voracious goddess, and you've got to try and use what little clues you have to track down this source of this curse on the seventh continent and try and stop it. And along the way, you puzzle solving really and exploring. There's a very tiny bit of fighting, and it's not really a combat game. It's more you scaling cliffs and looking out at vistas over the sea. And
it reminded
fishing.
It reminded me a lot, really, when you said it was a bit of a strange game. But it is a strange game, but in a very nice way. It's very experiential. And I think that's the way that a lot of board games are going now. If you look at like the locked room sorts of mystery games that are coming out,
right,
or a lot of the campaign games that are moving towards, where you've got a big box of a game and you play it and that's it, you're done, because all the big sort of like story reveals and beats have been revealed, and then it's time for someone else to enjoy it. And the way that this game unfolded as we kind of progressed through this island, it felt like playing Broken Sword. Or another like point and click adventure, or the old text-based adventures that you used to play on your BBC microcomputer.
I think there was certainly inspiration.
So you'd move from screen to screen, and it'd be like, interact with this, or did you pick up this item? There's a locked door, it needs a key. Do you have key?
You don't have key, go back.
Exactly.
8 tiles.
Lose
X health.
Except you're not always too aware that you need a key. But it brings you into this brilliant sort of mindset where every time you reveal a tile, it'll give you, say, 3 or 4 options of stuff to do. So it might be walk to another tile, or look at something, or interact with something. And you want to do it all, but you realise that you don't have enough actions to do it, because they're all going to, at some point, expend cards from your action deck.
And once all your cards run out, you get 1 reshuffle of your action deck, and then when you draw a curse, you're dead.
Okay.
So it's basically that's your timer. So every time you do something, you're spending action cards, which means you're constantly looking for ways to try and heal to get those action cards shuffled from the discard pile back into your deck. So we did a couple of hunting trips, which were nice. But then by the time you've done that, you're like, oh, we've spent so many resources going off hunting. Should we have just cracked on, sort of thing? But no, going back to what you were saying about it delivering that sort of adventure exploration experience, I don't think I've played a game quite like this where each tile is like, ooh, new sort of puzzle to solve now.
Yeah.
And before you even get to that tile, you get like an exploration card, like an adventure mist card or whatever they call it. So you don't know what's going to be in a particular compass direction. You have to flip it over, and it could be a choice of a bunch of different encounter cards.
Yeah. Which
could be anything from you find a spiky conch, which we found, which we were able to stick on the top of a club and turn into a musical weapon, which is just a really neat little thing. Or you could get attacked by a swarm of bees, or, again, don't want to get too much in spoiler territory, but there's loads of different encounters that you can have before you even find what the tile is. And then the tile itself has the sort of encounters. So you're always getting this great feeling of exploring. And when you solve a miniature puzzle, it's like a punch the air. Yeah, okay, cool.
That's it, yeah. Some of those adventures as well can be really benign. Like you're saying, you find something, you pick it up, or you notice a vantage point. And then some of them, it's just like, oh,
you are dead.
Exactly, yeah. This angry monster doesn't like you being here. And so it kind of really makes you think about those decisions. So the first thing that we wanted to do was just open up all these mist tiles all the time, because it's like, it's free actions, it's fine, what could go wrong? And then after we kind of got caught out by that once or twice, we started to be a bit more careful with it,
a bit more reserved about where to explore.
Exactly, yes. We started just kind of moving a bit, and then uncovering stuff as well whilst we were doing it. But at the same time, it never felt very procedural. It didn't feel like we had to go from like tile A to tile B, look at everything, and then once we were satisfied, we'd rinse that particular tile, move on to the next one. It's like we were running around trying to work out where we were, why we were there, and what we needed to get off it.
Who we were.
Yeah, exactly. And there was never a point where we felt like we didn't know what we had to do, or we weren't in control of that.
You've always got like a set specific objective, haven't you?
Yeah, you're always kind of guided towards something, and so it wasn't too much head scratching required. It was just kind of like working out, how do we go about this, and have we missed something? Which this game is going to make you feel like you've done an awful lot of. Yeah, you always feel like you've missed something. Yeah, it's just brilliant. I really, really did enjoy the game. There's if a lot of head scratching moments though.
You just said there wasn't, and now you said there is. I think it is a head scratcher. It's one of those. It doesn't feel like it is, but it kind of is, because you're looking at a tile and you're like, oh, I can go in 2 or 3 directions, or I can look in this cave. But then you're like, oh, I can go in 2 or 3 directions, but I can look in this cave. Which one do I do? Which one do I expend my energy like going towards? And I don't think I've played another. Yeah, I don't think I've played another game like this that has such like a wealth of adventure. And that feeling of exploration is just, that's what I love in adventure games. Like flipping over a card and like having a new thing happen at you is one of my all-time favorite things, in adventure games. And this has got like over 1,000 cards. So you're going to be even getting injured, like taking an injury, or like a head injury, or, paranoia or something like that, is going to be an interesting experience. It's negative, but you'll be like, oh, this is either a new game mechanic or another puzzle to solve, basically. How do I stop the bleeding? Or when you go hunting, you get food, but you don't know what the food's going to be, and each type of food has a different effect, and if you cook it, it's more beneficial. And there's the sort of knock-on effect of each of these minutiae decisions that you make along the way really adds up. And as a solo game, I loved it, and I was interested to see how it would play out in a 2-player or more sort of game. And I don't think it's harmed as much as I thought. If you had a dedicated group to go through all this, I'm not sure if you and I, for example, get the opportunity to sit through the next 60 hours required to finish this campaign. It'd be sweet if we could.
Yeah, it'd be good,
but there would be other games calling. Yeah. But it does make me think, like, playing that now, why did I box it back up? It's been in the cupboard for like however long it is since the Kickstarter. And now I'm thinking, I'm going to clear the table tomorrow and just crack on with this. It's that journey of discovery is really compelling and really addictive.
Yeah.
And the narrative that it weaves is really sweet. It's really interesting.
Yeah. But then with the essence of the game being it's a lockbox mystery, once those secrets are out, they're out.
Yeah.
So as part of that thinking, you're going to put it back in the box and just wait for the opportunity where you can
To
play
enjoy
it
the
with
mystery.
your friends. Yeah. So
Yeah.
then you can kind of like share that out together and discover it. The way that we were playing is we were very much like doing follow the leader. If a character moves with another character, then you only have to pay for the movement fee once, don't you? So you only burn through cards once. Whereas I suppose we could have split up and started doing different tiles at separate areas, but using more cards to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not convinced what the advantage of that would be, because in any given situation where we were having to perform an action, we could chip in and help each other out.
Yes.
If we went our separate ways, I'm not sure you'd be covering more ground because you have to spend cards to move.
Split down.
Yeah, I'm not convinced if that's necessarily... Maybe it is. Maybe we've got much further and much quicker. But yeah, no, but I liked that moving together as a team and making the decisions. I guess the gameplay actually is still almost exactly the same. The difference with more players is you have an extra character, which has a very, very minor ability, which may or may not see the light of day. But you also get 5 specialist skill cards, particular to your character, that get shuffled into your deck. And those can be really cool. And I don't think we realised how cool they were until we got quite a bit into the game. Your guy had an amazing healing ability and like a Yale education or something.
Yeah, that was really cool as that came out. Yeah.
And the lady I played as had some deciphering skills. And all the way through, we were like, why haven't we got any decipher skills? All of these quests need deciphering. And then all of a sudden we found halfway through the deck, oh, she's really good at deciphering.
Yeah, that was it. It's like a botanist research, wasn't it?
That's it,
She's always like going back and looking at stuff that's happened.
So, no, it was good. And I guess with more players, you get more variety, but you are still you're pooling the card deck as a resource.
Yep.
With more players, you can have less items in play and less cards in hand. So that's how it sort of scales up and down.
Okay, so if you were playing solo, then would you have like 6 item slots?
We had 3 each, didn't we? 3 items and 3 cards in hand. And I think if you solo, it's like 4 and 4, which I'm not sure is that much better for being penalised for having less cards and stuff. So I don't know. I can't comment on the scaling there.
Yeah.
But since it's very much sort of a story experience game, I'm not sure if it's one of those that's massively well balanced. It also strikes me as the kind of game where you have to die quite a lot to figure out the most optimal route.
Yeah.
And then work your way back through it.
Yeah, because there's different sort of save game states, isn't there? And with the setup and how you come back to the game if you do die. So that's quite interesting. So I'm not familiar with that because we've just played once. So in terms of if we did crash out of the adventure, then would we have a bit of... Like, there's a lot of meta, isn't there, to do with the game, and the game brings that in.
Yeah, so I think, for example, if we die now, like next time we play, when we go back to the start of this particular curse, you and I will know exactly where to go to get item X that gets you to quest Z.
Yeah.
And we'd just go straight there and do a beeline, right?
Yeah, masterfully cloaked with spoilers there. I like your work.
Yeah. Or we wouldn't. We'd do what I did tonight and forget the last experience and be like, what do we do with this thing again? So yeah, and I guess if you died a few times, maybe that would be quite frustrating having to replay through it all. I don't know. But I don't know. We were about halfway through our deck. We had a couple of ways of healing. We had quite a few items in play, and we were able to save the game. So let's just mention that quickly. I mean, to play through the whole adventure, you're talking about 50, 60, 70 hours from what I can gather. We've played for 3 or 4 tonight.
Yeah. Probably closer to 3, wasn't it, really? Because we played Rallyman beforehand with Raphael.
Oh, yeah, we did. So you get to save the game, which is quite a cool feature. You take away all the map goes away, and you just keep the map card that you're on. And then the next time you play, you sort of restart from that tile. You keep all your gear and everything. Your deck is in the same state. And I guess the sort of semi-punishment is if you want to explore back the way you came, you've got to do it all over again.
I see. So I suppose that stops you from just like dropping out too much, maybe. Like gives you an impetus to carry on. Maybe?
I think it's just about cleaning up. You know, there's a lot, obviously there's a million cards. If you played through the whole map in one go, you'd have to have like 6 tables all pushed together to even lay it out. And the game does, once you complete a certain element, it will unpack itself and start you again on another tile somewhere else, like we did at the end there.
But the map is indexed, isn't it? It's
it's fixed.
Yeah, so tiles don't come out randomly. They're all, like, tile 1 is linked to tile 2 to 14 to 16 or whatever. So when you're working backwards, then the game's still going to resolve in the same way as it came out.
But it'll be covered by different mist, like adventure cards.
I see, yeah.
So, you still won't quite know. And you'll have to redo certain encounters that you have to do to cross certain areas. It's really difficult to talk about it, like spoiler rappers. But no, it's, I guess it would be interesting to play back through it and sort of retrace our steps and see if we could do it more optimally. But yeah, no, it's really
cool.
Triggered my buzz for it again now. Yeah. I'm like keen to sort of get it back on and
that's it. And
get stuck into it.
Like you're saying, packing the game away, but then when you save the game to walk away, so really cool things happen. So a lot of the items that you craft, so you'll get an item and it'll come into your hand, and it's more of the idea that you can build this item. You know what's required. So you might take some bamboo and some wood to make something, and once it's crafted, then it's a consumable object. So you might build a shovel, and you've got 5 uses of that, and once you've dug 5 times, it's going to break. So you've got special index cards that tell you how many turns left you've got. Uses left, and that goes under the crafted item card. And that goes on top of the next crafted item, and you get another one underneath. So it all packs away quite neatly under your character.
Yeah, it's
back into the box.
Simple but elegant little thing. But also, going back to the item crafting thing you mentioned there, you might need bamboo to craft such and such an item. Yeah. Then that also keys off the tiles that you explore. So each tile has its own sort of resources as well, a bit like Robinson Crusoe. And, you've unlocked, got rock, now I can make something to hit things with or whatever. And that will reduce the cost of that card to play, which is another really simple. It's just an icon on the board, on the tile, but it just again gives you that flexibility and discovery of like, oh wow, we finally found bamboo or string or whatever. Now we can build this more easily, and then once you built an item, you can only carry in the 2-player game. I think it's 3 items each. Yeah. So if you want to build more, you can buff your existing items, so you can craft, like we said before, we can stick a conch on a brick bat, and then it adds keywords to it, so you can play the conch bit for music, or you can whack it over somebody's head for aggression. Yeah. And so then you get to benefit from both the skills, and it gets more durability if those skills match each other. It's all stuff that when we were setting up and getting back into it, I was like, oh, this is going to break my head. But by the end of it, I was like, oh, wow, it's that flexibility. And to have that complexity and elegance go hand in hand, it takes real thought, I think, from the designers. And once you've got your head around it and you get back into it, it just feels like there's a huge world and a huge wealth of choices, even in the things you do that aren't on the map. Yeah. The interactions you have with the cards, items in hand. There's think cards. You can play a think. I'm going to have a think, and that'll give you a set of benefits and abilities as well. It's just,
there's always the option to like reshuffle your inventory, or you're playing around with this card pile an awful lot. Yeah. So the active deck is your health, but then you're constantly trying to bring 1 or 2 cards back into that based on various effects of other cards or adventures. So we got about halfway through the action deck quite quickly, probably after about an hour. Yeah. But then it seemed to hold there for a while, didn't it? Whilst we were kind of like kept putting cards back in, and
treading water.
Then it starts to slip away again. Yeah. And now we're in a new area. You wonder if we're going to be able to like unlock more sort of medicine or food resources, or just jammy outcomes from fighting stuff that might bring stuff back in. So
and we've got experience as well.
Yes,
I can't remember. I have no idea what it's for. I can't remember. But we've got some experience. So I think it comes to a point where it'll say, now you can cash in this experience and something cool happens. Yeah. But I don't even want to look that up in the rule book. I just want it to happen when it happens organically.
Exactly. Just kind of
and just be another thing to discover.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice moments in the game when you discover something new, and it just makes thematic sense. Yeah. And it just brings quite a lot to the table. So you just feel like you're able to appreciate the story that's being drawn out a little bit more, just because you're actively pushing it forward. You don't feel like a passenger in this game. It's like sometimes it can feel a bit like you're just moving around from area to area, and then what's happened is going to happen.
Yeah.
And you just have to be at the right place at the right time. Whereas with Seventh Continent, it feels a bit more like you're the master of your own destiny, really. You're discovering the things and actually pushing it. It's
at your pace.
Yeah, you're not just waiting around for something to trigger, which can be a way in different games.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you've nailed the description there. It's unlike anything. I think it'll trigger loads of games similar to it. In fact, you already see it now. There's storytelling type games are really common and becoming more common. You've got games like Near and Far.
Yes.
And these, well, I guess these are driven by really old games like Tales of the Arabian Nights and stuff like that. But I love that. I love these story type telling adventure games and the way that they're developing. And Kingdom Death Monster does it beautifully as well.
Yeah.
But this does it in a very different way, through the tiles, through the exploration, and through the
you don't have to go back to the storybook and like. Although the mechanics are exactly the same, you uncovering like card 148 or whatever, and it gives you a little bit of flavor text and then an encounter.
Yeah,
because that's not in a compendium of a book. It just feels a bit different, although what's happening is exactly the same.
No, you're right. I mean, if you could condense it all down into a 1,000-page book or whatever, and you almost have the same experience, but putting it onto tiles, having the gorgeous map art and everything, just turns it into this really tactile tile flipping exploration experience, which is just a really clever integration of the design and mechanics and the art.
And then having some tiles that will resolve themselves and then attach themselves to tiles that you've just explored.
Yes,
it's
so
like
you
a
can
little
find
caveat.
like physical features of a tile and stuff. Yeah,
and do like further exploration. Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Would you play it again then?
I'll definitely play it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's one of those really where there's a choice of, do I let you go and enjoy it all on your own, knowing that I'm not really going to get a chance to come back and enjoy it all with you.
Yeah.
And then maybe just drop in every now and again to see what's going, have it spoiler free, or do I just pony up some money, buy a copy for myself, enjoy that at home with Helen. I've got a couple of mates that would absolutely love this sort of game.
Well, I do wonder, if it'd be a good family experience. Like once I'd have to fully get the rules digested. But because of the storytelling nature of it, it's not adversarial, it's cooperative, and because you're working together to solve puzzles and stuff, I do wonder if that would really hit the spot with the family, but whether or not they'd be willing to commit 60 or 70 hours to it, or whether I wait for you and pick up the game where we left off, or the most likely option, I dig it out solo and absolutely batter it at some point. But there's a great little method of having players drop in and drop out as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So you can quite easily sort of stage that. They sort of lose their gear or whatever, or they can hand it off and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can have people drop in and out. Thematically, I guess they go off and get lost and then come back or whatever.
Yeah.
But it works just like the save feature. It's very simplistically integrated and just allows you to scale up and down as required.
Brilliant. Well, I suppose if you really get hooked on that medical examination, then it gives you a good excuse to bring it back. So Seventh Continent definitely has our seal of approval then.
Yeah.
It's a great adventure game to go check out. It does a lot of familiar things in a very fresh sort of manner.
Yes.
And it's an absolute joy to behold in terms of the artwork, in terms of the logos. I didn't read the rule book, so I couldn't comment on how easy it is to interpret.
Probably could have reread it before we played.
Yeah, and I think they do such a good job with the cheat sheet of showing you all the different actions and how actions resolve and what would happen in certain situations, that you almost you fall into the trap of treating that as though it's the rule book. And then you get a little bit frustrated because it doesn't tell you exactly what you need to know in incredible detail, when actually it's doing a really good job of just reminding you.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to remind myself that, that's not what the cheat sheets are there for. You just gotta, it's more of a learning aid.
Yeah. It's also, I think, just changing the subject slightly, it's the kind of game that could only exist through Kickstarter, I think. Because there's no way like a retail publisher would go, 1,000 cards, you say, in a box,
Yeah.
And
14 kilos to ship.
Pure card. So in that respect, and obviously it wiped the floor with other Kickstarters. It made over 7 million the second time around. This is like a dream project for the guys who designed it.
Yeah.
And they've really just put all their heart and soul into it. And it just shows absolutely comes through in every single card.
Yeah.
And I think is just one of those validations like Kingdom Death and Gloomhaven and games like that that are just perfectly suited to Kickstarter. Massively overambitious projects that actually, through the luck of the gods or just dedication and persistence from the team, deliver the goods and come up trumps. And it's just, a stunning achievement, I think.
It's having that access to the audience, I suppose, and if you've got the backers behind you willing to pay for it in advance, then you can really afford to put some time and effort into doing a really good job of it. Exactly. So you mentioned it was the second time around on Kickstarter for this. So is this a second edition, or is it just a reprint?
I think it's just
the
a
original?
reprint. Yeah, I think the original took over 1 million as well, so it was it was really successful. Another thought has just struck me. We should probably play games we don't like. Every single one of our sessions is and this game is amazing. And
it's so good.
But of course, we don't have games we don't like. We don't buy those.
Well, we need to consult our flowchart of, is it a dungeon crawler? Is it an adventure game? Is it a Euro? Pick something outside of that Venn diagram.
Let's play Euro next time.
Yeah, that's right. We need to do some more worker placement. Nice. So there we go. Seventh Continent, brilliant. Go check it out yourself, form your own opinions. If you do disagree with us, if you think it's rubbish, please comment and let us know. It'll be good to see some differing opinions from our own. And just another reminder as well, go check out Lifeform on Kickstarter.
Do check out Lifeform. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the Easter weekend. There's a bank holiday. What are you actually going to do with it? Apart from check out, other online social platforms. So make sure Kickstarter is a good place to go from there. And thanks very much. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.